Lisa here. Welcome back to my channel, and in today's video I am going to be going through a comparison of the original out-of-print version of The Oracle of the Radiant Sun by Carolyn Smith and John Astrop and the new reprinted version of the same deck. Now this video is coming about through a series of strange coincidences, I suppose you could say, where I ended up in a shop that had a copy of this just sitting on their shelf. Now it's been sitting long enough that the cellophane is actually just like shredding and peeling. So I think it's been there for quite a long time, but I wanted to see, I've heard that the cardstock is better in the original, and I just really wanted to see how it compared. I actually really love this deck. So I really like the idea that it has a better cardstock in this original version. So I haven't decided yet if this particular original out-of-print version is one I'm going to keep or not, because while I love the deck, the cardstock really grew on me of the new version. So I'm going to unwrap this guy here right on camera, and oh gosh, it really is just sort of dying. I should have brought a little tool to use, but I think I'll be all right because this is some really old plastic. So here we go, moment of truth. I was so stunned to see this on the shelf in this condition, for sure. So let's start with the packaging, because we all are usually curious about that sort of thing. So this seems to come in a, oh, I see. So it has a little flip open spot here, and it opens this way. And the deck is in two parts. So I'm just going to take these little sleeves off and just set them there. Oh, and here. So it looks like, there we go. So this is not a very sturdy box, obviously. It looks like there's the sun, so that starts off there. I can tell you right away the cardstock is definitely different, so we'll talk about that in a minute. And then the book here, it seems to be, oh, interesting. So the book is actually, I'm going to be really careful here because the book is actually built into the box. Do you see that? So the back cover of the book is actually a part of the box. So I'm not going to cut that. I guess what you're supposed to do is just trim right here so that you have your back book cover. Let's start with the book by just checking how many pages. So the original has 144 pages right to the back there. Let's take a look at the new version. So this one comes in a nice sturdy box. It's not this strange book built-in sort of system that we have here. And it's got a little slide-out drawer. Now I don't keep my decks in their original boxes typically, so this is not really a big selling point for me, but there you go. And then it's got this tray, and the deck is in two parts, so I've put it back into order. And you can probably see right away the difference in the cardstock just by the difference in the thickness of the decks. So let me just line it up really well. Yeah, so you've got almost, I want to say like a good 1/8 of an inch extra in card thickness. I don't know if you guys can see that. Interesting, the backs are also different. So let's just flip this over. So you can see that the original back is this really pale yellow, and the new back is this goldenrod kind of dandelion yellow. And let's take a look at the new book versus the old book. Oh yeah, this cardstock feels really nice. Okay, more on that in a second. So let's take a look, and yes, exactly identical, 144 pages. The same spread on the back page. Let's just open this up and do a little comparison of the book. So I'm going to set the cards aside for a sec, and we'll bring those back. Oh, don't get them out of order, Lisa. We'll bring those back out in just a moment. So here we have the book, and slight difference there on the title page. And this one has this kind of all over creamy sort of pale color to the paper, and this is bright white with the highlights of yellow. Let's see if our table of contents is the same. So you're more than welcome to pause this if you really want to get precise about comparing, but at first glance it looks like all of the page numbers and titles line up, which means there's very likely to be 0 changes to the text of the book. Everything else looks to be identical. Yeah, everything else looks to be identical. A little bit brighter yellows in this book, so if that matters to you. But otherwise the books seem to be identical, so I'm going to put away the original one here. just so I don't mess that up. Now, for those of you that have seen my weekly deck review on this deck, you know that this does come with a really good amount of information. You actually get a really great introduction to astrology with this deck. So there's an intro, then there's a bit about the language of astrology and symbols. This is like a really cool chart where it talks about the house qualities and keywords, the planet's qualities and keywords, and then the sign. So you can do this really cool simple equation where you look up the house, the planet, and the sign, say in your own birth chart, and you get like this great kind of conflagration of meanings, which is really great. Then you have some information on the planets, and then the houses, and the signs, of course. And then it starts to talk about the different shapes of the cards and what those are all about. And then you get right into the card meanings. Now, what I love about this deck is that in each card you get a little bit of text here that talks about the artwork. I kind of wish there was more because the artwork seems so rich and full of meaning. But then you also get the astrological signs and symbols, and then information about what the card means on a personal level, like if this were in your birth chart, for example. And then also some divinatory meanings. In a reading, this card means blah. And then some events, which I really found that when I worked with this deck, it read really well in a predictive style, which is not how I typically read. And I really enjoyed it. It's full of depth. It's really great if you're studying astrology, but it's just good as an oracle all by itself. Even if you knew nothing about astrology, I think you would find this a breeze to work with. And because it is based on astrology, you'll find that it's extremely well balanced. So you have, you know, lighter cards, more positive cards, and then more shadowy cards, because of course we're looking at a deck based on a complete system of astrology. So now that that part is out of the way, let me set this aside and we'll look at the cards themselves. I'm going to do a complete flip through card by card because I don't think that's been done yet on YouTube, and I think it'd be really useful. But first, this is the original on the left here, and this is the new on the right, and I will be zooming in when we get to this portion. But first, let's talk about the cardstock. So the new version is really, really, really flimsy, but it does feel like it'll hold up just fine. It's just that it's so thin. So shuffling this one, which I won't show you right now, but I will show you after we're done with the flip through the difference in shuffling, or at least I'll shuffle this one. I don't know if I'm going to shuffle this one because I want to leave it nice and pristine for now. But there is quite a difference in the card thickness. So I'm going to bring the focus in a little bit here, and then I'm just going to show at slightly different angles so you can see. Like, you can't even see the side of this card, but you can definitely clearly see, I think, the side of this card. So just to show a little bit of stiffness, that's how I'll do that test. And then on this one, like, it's a big, big difference. Now, I do notice right away, and I'll bring the camera in so we can see it a little closer, there's a slight color saturation difference between the two decks. So let me bring us in and focus us a bit better. Oops. There we go. So I don't know if you can tell, I'm going to actually get something to point with. Here, I'll just use my pen so I don't knock things. But right around the edges here where the pink is, to me, it's much more vivid in this spot. Whereas over here, I feel like the yellow's a little richer right through those areas. But for the most part, you guys, this is identical. So I'm going to do a flip through. Try to keep these neat. Let's see if I can do this. I'm going to rearrange them a little. Thanks for bearing with me. I don't usually do these like full flip throughs, but I really want you to be able to see and judge for yourself because there are still copies of this original available. Here's another one where I feel like in the background you can see just more depth in this peachy color than you can see over here. Also, I feel like there's a little bit more definition in this symbol up here than you see over here. Yeah, again, more richness in the background. It's a little bit more saturated. Even the raven or the crow here is a lot more blacker, I feel like, here than you see here. This one, I'm not spotting a big difference. Wow, the cards just feel so much different to touch here. Yeah, here's another one. I do feel like these are slightly more saturated. Again, it's a very slight difference. If you're not terribly picky about that sort of thing, you probably wouldn't really, it's not that perceptible or noticeable. I feel like for me, the biggest difference is definitely the cardstock. It's actually kind of a bummer that the reprint came out with such a thin cardstock. Now the printing houses are different. So the original was published by St. Martin's Griffin, and the new one is, it's got plastic stuck to it, is published by Red Feather, Schiffer Red Feather. So that's probably why there's a difference in the stock. Sorry, I had some plastic stuck there. Okay, I'm just going to continue flipping through here. I'm probably not going to comment much. That way, if you want to just kind of speed this up, you can. Yeah, here I feel like you can see how much darker the purple is here than here. Oops. Oh, we're kind of getting off frame a little here, so let me just move my piles a little. Oops. Yeah, you can see it in the pinks. Oh, I keep grabbing more than one. These two are probably the most significant in terms of the actual color in the background. Because this one is more saturated, this one, you can really see the difference there. Even in the blush on the cheeks of these two figures up at the top there. Oops. So that is it. Honestly, at the end of the day, I feel like you can even see actually, because I've worked with my deck, this new one, a little bit more. You can even see a little bit of a bow just because the cardstock is so much thinner. But that is the difference. And if you are a cardstock nerd, you would definitely prefer the original, I feel like. But considering how commonly available and inexpensive it is to now pick up the new version, that is what will be the deciding factor for a lot of people. I feel like it's really hard to find these original first edition copies now, and I feel like that's probably going to end up being the ultimate deciding factor for people, is there's just a big cost difference for sure. So that is it for this comparison and walkthrough. I'm interested in your thoughts below. Do you have the first edition? Do you have the new edition? Do you have both? What was your preference? And maybe you can help others in the future make a decision as well. So thanks so much for joining me, and I will see you all again very soon. Bye-bye.